Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs will remain behind bars until his trial on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. The judge tonight denying bail after prosecutors argued he's a flight risk who could potentially intimidate witnesses. CBS's Jerika Duncan was in the courtroom just feet away from Diddy. And Jerika, what did you see?
That's right. You know what, Nora? I was right in the front row, about 12 feet away from where Combs was sitting. And throughout, I noticed he really kept his focus on the judge, at times looking at his attorney. But it was that moment when the judge said that bail was denied that he turned around and looked at his three sons who were in that courtroom and softly patted his chest. 54-year-old Sean Diddy Combs was led away in handcuffs this afternoon after being denied bail. His attorney blasted the decision.
He's a fighter and he's going to fight this.
Combs was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and interstate transportation for prostitution following a months-long Homeland Security investigation.
Sean Combs, a.k.a. Diddy, was finally jailed after being charged with horrific crimes. The judge's major announcement in his case has now become public. Diddy has been denied bail. Yes! You heard it right. Sean Diddy Combs, the biggest mogul in the music industry, has been ordered jailed without bail, and a news reporter, Jerika, witnessed it herself. Things definitely aren't looking good for him now.
The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance.
Earlier, the U.S. Attorney for Southern District, Damian Williams, disclosed all the offenses that Diddy was charged with. These charges are so horrific that just hearing about them will give you chills.
Judge ruled that there were no conditions that could ensure public safety due to the private nature of the alleged crimes, emphasizing the weight of the evidence against him. Diddy's legal team plans to appeal. His lawyer saying he is innocent. He's not afraid of the charges. We're going to stand by his side. Diddy offered a $50 million bond, surrendered passport, and proposed home detention, but the USDA deemed him a flight risk with a decades-long history of violence. The indictment alleged Diddy ran a criminal enterprise through his companies using firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and sexual abuse to control victims. Authorities seized freak-off supplies and weapons during raids, revealing disturbing details about Diddy's alleged abuse. They found, apparently they said, what did they find? The amount of stuff they found on the place, which was ridiculous.
100 bottles of baby oil.
50 Cent trolls Diddy and his 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil found in a federal raid.
Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy, He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
People are terrified and deeply outraged by the recent news that Diddy's home and hotel rooms are stocked with thousands of baby oil bottles. This story has taken over social media talks. Remember that Diddy wasn't working alone in this? He had everyone around him wrapped around his fingers, who did all the dirty work for him, or most of them were threatened to work for him.
You didn't tell me about that. So he tried to get somebody to reach out to you?
No, I got a phone call from Kirk Burrows. And Kirk Burrows, and I ain't gonna even get this guy no play. Not Kirk Burrows, but one of the Puff dudes that I know that's real close to him said, Kirk told me, yo, he want to reach out to you, Gene. He want to speak to you. I said, speak to me for what? What do you want to speak to me for? If he's trying to speak to me, it's for Puff. Point blank. I know the dude. I know how close he is to Puff. He's been with Puff from day one. So he ain't got nothing to say to me, bro. But Kirk Burrows did say to me that the dude said enough is enough. When do it becomes enough? Yo, because, bro, listen, I didn't ask to be put in this situation. You understand? And a lot of people ain't going to understand this because a lot of people wouldn't give up what I've given up to be in this situation.
In a recent podcast, Gene Dill, the bodyguard, who has been relentlessly exposing Diddy's bizarre behavior, spoke once more about how he received the call from Diddy's close friend, who warned Gene that Diddy says enough is enough, which basically is a clear threat to silence Gene.
They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey, buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, TD Jakes, he haven't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen.
Not only this, he also disclosed how well-known politicians and celebrities are silent against Diddy because they're afraid of being exposed after learning the news that they were filmed while doing drugs and engaging in other awful acts. Moreover, Gene even hinted that these people will only speak out when the FBI will confront them and inform them that they have the recordings. I mean, clearly Gene knows what he's talking about.
But why do you think Diddy had all them hidden cameras?
Bro, when you that powerful, you didn't get that powerful without having 1 or 2 or maybe 3 ups on somebody. Diddy always been the type of individual that want to have ups on the next person no matter what they was doing. He always played artists against each other. He did it to Big, he did it to Craig Mack. You understand? I said before, he did the stuff to Ja Rule, you know what I'm saying? So how the ups on Ja Rule so he could go after Jay-Z. You understand what I'm saying? So he always played those kind of up games on people. So to have those cameras and know what he was doing is going to give him the ups on everybody who came to that party, even your favorite basketball player. Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Gene didn't end here. He also revealed that Diddy secretly recorded every individual at his party because he wanted to have the UPS on them all. I mean, this can only mean one thing, and that is to use these recordings against them. And the recent indictment proves it, as it was disclosed that Diddy was blackmailing people.
Charles, I mean, shocking is an understatement when you hear the details of this case. What are your thoughts after hearing the indictment yesterday?
Good morning, Brian and Natalie. I got to tell you, my thoughts reading the 14-page indictment yesterday were that there are a lot of people in Hollywood who are probably worried about which Diddy parties they were at and what was going on. That's not to say that they were necessarily even involved in any of the things that are alleged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. But if you're at that party and it turns out that that's when he set up one of these freak-off sex parties, or that it was going on in another room and you didn't know about it, there's a good chance that you're going to be called by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And certainly if you were involved, you would get a call because they're going to want to know everything you want to know and may even want you to be a witness. I just think, we're just starting to scratch the surface of what this case, this case is going to touch and involve. And the feds have said that this remains an open investigation. There could be more charges for Diddy. There could be more charges for other people involved. And usually the way this works is once they find out other people are involved or were witnesses, they bring them in and they sort of lean on them. And it's sort of like, you're going to cooperate with us, or there's a possibility that you could face charges. So this is going to be a slow developing a case here because we're just getting started, and I don't see how this trial begins anytime before next year.
The executive producer of TMZ, Charles, also hinted that many people in the Hollywood are anxious now because of the hidden recordings of them. According to Charles, Diddy's case is just getting started.
What do you think about the responses that people are having to Diddy's case and his reputation at this point?
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. I mean, how long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years? I think there's a lot of questions about the timeline. And then, like it was said in the report before, the question of co-conspirators. Is he going to end up with co-defendants on this? And if he does, who are they going to be?
Well, and that point exactly, Megan, is what has so much of people talking and speculating who else could be involved when the influence that Sean Diddy Combs has had in the music industry for decades. I mean, is it even possible to say how big this could get?
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witnesses. But if they're co-defendants, there's a little bit more leverage there to work out some kind of cooperation deal to ensure their testimony. Or perhaps there's bigger fish in the pond that they want to go after, but there's just a lot of questions that remain to be seen about whether there's a superseding indictment and whether it includes co-defendants. But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendants, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take him to trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
This is all very interesting, and it means that we could see potentially more people charged. We just don't know yet where this will go.
Even Megan Cuniff, a journalist covering legal affairs, recently talked about potential future developments for Diddy. Her remarks that there might be a bigger fish in the pond and that the FBI is hoping that Diddy's co-defendants will testify against him, indicate that the FBI is making every effort to keep Diddy in prison for a long period of time.